What's up, everybody? Welcome on back to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing a tier list of restricted Pokemon. That's right, for Regulation G, I thought to myself, hey, it would be a good idea to make my opinions more vocal online and cause a ruckus in the community. Yeah, that's right. I like me some some drama, if you will. But anyways, I'll be talking about my personal opinion on the Regulation G Pokemon and which ones I personally think are the best Regulation G Pokemon. I'll be doing it in a tier list format, so S tier being the best, D being complete shit, and in the middle of those grounds, well, they're just kind of in the middle of those grounds. But with that out of the way, let's dive right into it. Like and subscribe. Let's go. Let's do this, everybody. Don't mind the ads over there. I'm not sponsored by those things. Listen, I'm not a professional YouTuber. Do you think I have the affordability to take off these ads? No. Anyways, let's dive right into it. Starting off with, should we start off with, yeah, we can start off with the, I feel like I'm going to end off with the more recent legendaries. But starting off with Mewtwo. So I have seen Mewtwo surprisingly like a lot. I think Mewtwo is not good. You know, like it's not like its stats are bad or anything, but there's nothing impressive about Mewtwo. And the only thing that's going for it, honestly, is having access to Expanding Force, which is, like, really good, like, paired up with a Psychic Terrain user like Indeedee, which just allows Mewtwo to actually, like, showcase its true, like, powers overall. But being pure Psychic is sometimes a bit of a vulnerable thing, per se, due to the fact that there are a lot of Dark-type Pokemon and a lot of Ghost-types, prominently Fluttermane and I don't know, King Gambits and Incineroars and what have you. So Mewtwo feels like it's just not giving it, right? It's not giving. And, of course, its abilities are complete fucking garbage. So, you know, like, again, Unnerve is not a terrible ability. Rather, it's not fit for Mewtwo, I think. I think, honestly, Mewtwo would be good with a Psychic Terrain if it had that as its ability. Again, it's a video for another time. And I also mentioned it in one of my shorts where I would change Mewtwo's ability for Psychic Terrain. It allows it to be a lot more better. But you can see Mewtwo be run with, like, you know, Choice Specs just to max out the damage, or even Choice Scarf just to get that speed up. If not, you want to run this thing with probably the Assault Vest, simply because you want to give that extra, you know, that extra defensive boost. That way it can actually live some hits. Like, again, special attack is fucking amazing. All it needs is, like, a little more defense. So just give this thing the Assault Vest and give it a pretty decent defense overall. And, of course, whatever typing you want to Terrasilize Mewtwo to, it's going to allow it to be so much more better. But on that note, do I think Mewtwo is good? I, unfortunately, will tell you guys the truth. It sucks. Genuinely, I think, even though it has a niche, it is just a niche. And again, if you're feeling like, if you have to have the obligation to have at least, like, a very specific item to make it at least live a couple of hits of very specific Pokemon, and again, like, Terrestrialization on this Pokemon is great and all, but there's nothing really Mewtwo can do. Again, it has good coverage moves, don't get me wrong. It has access to Aura Sphere, it has access to Blizzard, so you can maybe Terra Ice alongside a Lone Ninetales with Aurora Veil. There's just a bunch of interesting things that you can do with Mewtwo, but unfortunately for the format that we're in, there's so many better Psychic options, and there's so many better Pokemon that, like, you look at Mewtwo and you're just like, you sure about that? Yeah. Are you sure about that? You know, at least for me, I wouldn't choose Mewtwo for 1,000 years in competitive Pokemon, but it's always a fun Pokemon to explore. Up next, a Pokemon I actually did a video about with a team, Lugia. Now, I had fun with Lugia in that team for sure, and I do actually think Lugia is actually a bit better than Mewtwo, in a sense where Multi-Skill is actually a really good ability, and it's a really good Terra Steel user. Plus, it is naturally extremely bulky, so it is just a fucking menace in general, right? So pair this thing up with leftovers, Terra Steel, and, like, you just give it everything so that it functions super duper well in every scenario. And it has access to recover, so you can just get back that HP. Aeroblast, which, yes, it has that 95% chance of miss, but it is still a very good flying type move, which does not require, like, you know, any fucking anything, which is really good. It doesn't require like a big miss ratio like Air Slash does. I think Air Slash is like what? Uh, yeah, it's around the same amount of accuracy, but it doesn't have what Aeroblast can. Aeroblast is 100 base power, and it's basically a high percentage version of Air Slash, and it has access to really good psychic moves like Extrasensory, Psychic, Psyshock. Like you can also run this thing with like Shadow Ball if you really wanted to. Has access to Thunderbolt, so that's some pretty good coverage. Or Thunder if you want to be cheeky and put this thing on a rain team. I think Lugia has a lot more flexibility in comparison to most other Pokemon, and I think this is like an underrated Pokemon in the current format. But because of Regulation G and the way that it is, I don't think Lugia is built just yet to be like at its full potential. I think honestly we'll see Lugia maybe a little more often paired up with, like, for example, Kyogre. We would have like a doubles format with two restricted Pokemon. So we'd have like Kyogre and Lugia, for example. Kyogre sets up the rain, and then we have Lugia in the back that can actually like fucking provide itself with like Thunder and whatever, right? Just really good coverage overall. While Kyogre can just like spam Water Spout or Origin Pulse if it wants to, and you can give you don't need to like make Kyogre have like an extra move for coverage. You could just run like Origin Pulse, Ice Beam, Protect, and maybe like Calm Mind or something just to have it like boost up. And then you would have like fucking Lugia here that's just gonna be like that one overpowered Pokemon. But overall, I think Lugia is really, really solid and has some amazing potential this generation in comparison to other gens. I don't know if I would put this in a B tier. I think B tier is a bit high, but I'll put it in like. I'll put it like low B. I think it has the highest potential off of like all like the quote bad legendary Pokemon I consider. So I think honestly Lugia is just really, really good, especially in the current format. Honestly, this is probably the singular format where I can clearly tell you guys that we might see Lugia more often than you think. Up next we have the Sacred Fire Ho-Oh. The fucking Resurrection God. Okay, so Ho-Oh is weird. In a sense where it has Regenerator, it's a good ability overall. I don't think it's a terrible ability. But I think what makes Ho-Oh good is its actual stats itself. If I compare it to Lugia, for example, like both stats, they're relatively the same. Except the reverse is just there. We have sort of a reverse stats here and there. We have a lot more attack and a lot more special attack on Ho-Oh, and Lugia is a little more defensive. So, are you more of a defensive type of person, or are you more of a offensive person with a bit of defense here and there? And plus, that extremely good special defense allows it to be on par with a lot of Pokemon. Its speed might be a little bit lackluster, but Ho-Oh does have some really good shit. It is basically the Moltres that you want. Pardon the fucking little zoom in. But Ho-Oh is definitely that Pokemon that is just better than Moltres in every sense of the way. Its moveset is really good. And you can actually pair this off in a really good something. Again, I think Ho-Oh would be even better paired up to like, Koraidon, where it's just going to have that little access to the sun a lot more easily. And actually both Pokemon complement each other very well, where Koraidon is dragon and fighting, while Ho-Oh is fire flying. So we have like that really good dynamic. And same thing if you want to pair Ho-Oh with Groudon. But a lot of players would probably opt to go for fucking Koraidon anyways, because Koraidon's the new dog in town. But with that being said, do I think Ho-Oh is as good as we think? Again, I've seen Ho-Oh a couple of times. I've faced a Ho-Oh a couple of times here and there. And honestly, in the right team circumstance, it is really good. Like, I'd say it's like a B tier. But like in terms of potential, it's there. I think in terms of potential, Ho-Oh is there. I think Ho and Lugia have the highest potential. Like, I like the older gen Pokemon, like post Gen 4. when it comes to potential, like I no post Gen 3, not post, after Gen 3, after fuck words before Generation 3, I think of the older legendaries, I think these ones are probably the highest, and then Mewtwo's just down there crying, bitch. Anyways, Kyogre. Okay, we have some talking here. Kyogre is definitely the best rain setter in the game, without a shadow of a doubt. It has great stats. It has Water Spout, which is fucking broken. If you guys don't know what Water Spout does, Water Spout is technically a 150 power, but it is counting the amount of HP that Kyogre has. So naturally, you give this thing max HP, and then the rest of its stats kind of like balance out afterwards. So a lot of Kyogres prompt to have Water Spout, but due to the format itself, and due to like the nature of competitive, sometimes Water Spout is not always the best option. So you'd probably go for a move like, for example, Origin Pulse, or have some extra coverage like Ice Beam, whatever. You would actually see, I've seen a lot more frequently, and again, this could be just me, but this moveset here, Ice Beam, Origin Pulse, Protect, and either Calm Mind or Thunder in the last slot, just to take care of opposing flying type Pokemon if Ice Beam isn't enough to KO, but Ice Beam is mainly for Landorus, just in case. And that's kind of it, I believe. I don't think it has access to Earth Power or anything else. It has access to Thunder Wave. That's fine. That's all I'm looking for. No, it doesn't have access to Earth Power, which is kind of good. It's kind of good because this thing would actually be kind of broken. But it's actually really good. It's actually a really good Pokemon, and overall, in hindsight, for me, this is an S tier, because it disrupts really strong weather conditions that help Paradox Pokemon, such as Flutter Mane being next to the sun. It gets photosynthesis, so it boosts itself up. Kyogre is able to just nullify that immediately unless it's a booster energy. But then again, who wants to run booster energy on XYZ Pokemon necessarily, right? Like a Raging Ball, but that's also the other problem. Kyogre is facing kind of like a little bit of a backlash with fucking really better grass type Pokemon like Ogerpon and Raging Bolt. That again, Raging Bolt will be able to just KO it no matter what. In any way, shape, or form. Even though it has high special defense, that doesn't mean that fucking Raging Bolt is not gonna be able to KO it. And if we're talking about physical electric type Pokemon, we do have Pokemon like Iron Hands that exist with Wild Charge, which will 100% KO a Kyogre, no matter what. So in hindsight, Kyogre is kind of in that weird spot where it's really good. For me, I think it's an S tier in my heart. But personally, is this the best Pokemon objectively, competitively? I don't think it is. But it is in the top. It's definitely top 10, top 5 for sure. But it's very risky. I feel like it's a very risky Pokemon, and it's not, I don't know. It's not ideal for Kyogre right now. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with Kyogre, I guess, later down the line. I feel like Kyogre is still pretty good, but there's one thing that makes me say otherwise, and that's because Water Spout, even though it's good, it's not always effective. And then you have Origin Pulse here, which is just it's a 110 base power move hitting both targets. However, 85% accurate. If it's not, for me, again, if it's not 100% accurate, it's 50% accurate. So that's a bit weird to judge just like that. But I think Kyogre is still a pretty decent Pokemon overall. And if you say otherwise, well, you're dumb. Alright, up next we have Groudon. So Groudon is weird. Groudon is in a weird position. It is still a good Sunsetter, but because of Koraidon's existence, it makes me want to put Groudon lower. And also, Landorus is still around. But I feel, and this is just a thought, I feel like Groudon might be a lot more popular later down the line. Because, again, similarly to Kyogre, It has access to a range move that does absurd amount of damage, but has a very weird accuracy issue, which is Precipice Blades. Like 85 accurate, but 120, which is actually way better than Kyogre's. Let me just double check. Yeah, it's 100% way better than Kyogre's Origin Pulse, and it's a ground type move. Ground is amazing typing overall. It's a good Sunsetter, well, decent at the very least. If you don't want to run Koraidon, it's a really good option. Overall, I think Groudon has everything to be successful. It's just like Groudon suffers from the fact that it has a lot of good moves, but most of them are range moves that have very poor accuracy, like Precipice Blade, for example, or Rock Slide. Good coverage move, good physical, but it has that little thing here. It has access to other things though. You can run it with Heavy Slam if you want to, just to have some coverage against Flutter. That's fine. You can Terrasilize as well. Terastallization is a thing, so it allows itself to still like run things that are very good. I don't even wait. Does it have access to Body Press? It does have access to Body Press. So technically speaking, Groudon is in a very decent position, but it's just in comparison to most Pokemon in the format, you might not see it as often, but it has a lot to go for, and it has a lot of things that it can do. That at this point, I wouldn't even be surprised that we would see this more often later down the line. With, I'm just gonna check something real quick. Ew. Yeah, yeah, that's sort of what I thought. I'm looking at the second. Well, the a Pokemon we'll look more into later down the line, but the fact that Zamazenta is just a better speed and all that stuff to use Body Press effectively and like Heavy Slam, it kind of makes it has stab on both, which is kind of crazy, and then Groudon's just there chilling. I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like Groudon is like, because of the moves, I think Groudon's a B tier, but I don't think I want to overlook Groudon either. I think Groudon's like a watch out Pokemon more than anything else. Like, watch out if it's on the team, it's actually really threatening. If not, then go fuck yourself. You're about to get absolutely demolished. Rayquaza. We're down to talk about my favorite legendary Pokemon, but sadly, it is the pinnacle of. It has one thing going for it, and that's it. It has access to Airlock. So Airlock is, while this Pokemon is inactive, this affects off any weather condition. So any weather condition possible, whether it's sandstorm, hail, well, in this case, snow, rain, or sun, it gets completely nullified. Rayquaza is just there to kind of like disrupt the flow of the battlefield, making a lot of Pokemon maybe just be like, what the fuck? But unfortunately for Rayquaza, this is where Rayquaza is suffering from the Mewtwo situation, where it has decent stats overall, but then fucking suffers from the defensive stats and it's stuff. And it's not even that fast as well to begin with. But I do think it's better than Mewtwo, because you can definitely like have some pretty decent play with it, especially with Airlock being a really good ability here to take off any past Paradox Pokemon's ability to get a boost off of Sun. So there is some utility that I can see with Rayquaza. The problem is that Rayquaza just kind of is there. It's kind of just there. If it had the Mega Rayquaza, please put this bitch here. But unfortunately, Mega Evolutions are not here yet. So hopefully that's gonna get changed soon, but I don't think that's gonna be the case. Okay, we're jumping to an interesting category here. We got the Origins here. The Brethrens of Origin. Start with Dialga. Origin form Dialga is interesting. I've seen it play. I've seen it play a couple of times. So it's not bad, but it's not good either. Like, it's weird. It's weird. So hidden ability Hidden ability telepathy. So it's hidden ability telepathy. This Pokemon does not take damage from attacks made by its allies. This is actually kind of good. It's kind of interesting of an ability, because this means you can run Pokemon like, for example, regular Ursaluna into this, right? You can have regular Ursaluna with like Guts fucking spamming Earthquake, and like Dialga is fine. Like Dialga is just fine. In general, I'm just gonna also put the regular version of Dialga since we are covering both, and they both have telepathy. It's kind of great. It's kind of really great for this Pokemon, right? Like in general, I think they're just that good. It's just that good, right? But I do say unfortunately, and that's a me thing more than anything else. Unfortunately, regular Dialga is not that good, but this version of Dialga can actually be seen a lot more in play. The only issue is that the item slot is put for the Adamant Crystal, but that's okay because you can definitely pull up some really good shit. And since the special attacker, you can run this thing with Aura Sphere, Flash Cannon, Protect, and Draco Meteor to get the best amount of damage that you can as possible. It is literally honestly, I think this is just the most common set you can have here. If not, you can just take out Aura Sphere and have it does have access to any setup move. I believe it does. Yeah, you can give this thing like Iron Defense if you want to, just to boost its defensive stats. It also has access it has access to Trick and Trick Room, so that's really good. But overall, there's also Roar of Time. If you're really willing to not have Draco Meteor, you can definitely have Roar of Time. It's a bit better. It's a bit better than Draco Meteor, but unfortunately, you can't move user can't move next turn. It's got like the biggest drawback. So you'd probably prompt to have Draco Meteor anyways. So on that note, because this version of Dialga is a lot more bulkier than regular Dialga, I see two benefits into this, right? Regular Dialga is better because it has a little more higher attack stat, which means that it can run Iron Heads if it wants to. But Iron Head doesn't really do much, considering that its special attack is where you want that focus on. But in comparison to this one is a lot more special oriented. Its stats reflected a lot. Plus, it's a good Trick Room Pokemon in general. Same problem with Rayquaza here with the speed stat. Like again, Groudon 2 has the same problem with speed stats. But I think honestly, this version of Dialga has some very good potential. Well, this version is kind of here. It's kind of like in the middle ground where it's like, it's good, but it's not as good as its actual origin version. But again, you can kind of see both versions in like two different lights. I think origin version is really strong, but it's basically its item slot is Kaputski, right? Well, as for regular Dialga, you can actually run this thing with like maybe the Assault Vest if you wanted to, and give it kind of like that little defensiveness if it wants to, just to keep it alive for a bit. But that's kind of it, really. After that, we have Palkia. Both forms of Palkia. We'll just put both forms here. Same ability, almost same spiel, except the typing is Water Dragon, which Water Dragon is a really good typing for those that don't know. It's a really good typing, making it only weak to like Fairy types and Dragon types. It's really, really good. But unfortunately for it, regular Palkia is shit. Regular Palkia is shit in comparison to fucking... Look at these stats. Look how balanced this is. Look at fucking regular Palkia. Ugh. What's the 120 special 120 attack, bro? He puts it into fucking speed. This thing's a menace. This thing's a fucking threat. Give me Origin Form Palkia ASAP. Pair fucking Kyogre and Origin Form Palkia ASAP with me. it has fucking access to some really cool shit too. Again, like this is a good Pokemon with Draco Meteor to have access with. It has access to Protect, obviously, and you can give a coverage move like Aura Sphere or whatever. That's fine. But it has access to Flamethrower, really good. Ice Beam, really, really good. Really good coverage overall. The only downside is that you would probably be more obligated to like go for. Well, I think it has access to Spatial Rend. Oh my god, Spatial Rend is so good. The only downside I see really is that it doesn't have like a really good water move, like maybe Surf and Hydro Pump, I believe. Let me just check if it has other water moves that it has access to. Hydro Pump, yeah, Hydro Pump Surf is like your best bets here. You want to run Whirlpool? Trapping your opponents? What? But yeah, I think this is a pretty good Pokemon parody, and in comparison, I think regular Palkia is kind of like a B tier. I think it's just fine. It's not terrible, but it's not good either. I wouldn't say these are your primary choices, per se. These are not your primary choices. But I would always go and opt for the origin forms. So, noted, the origin forms of Palkia and Dialga are extremely good. But unfortunately, Giratina falls. So Giratina is a weird case, right? So Giratina's regular ability when its origin form is Levitate, which is good. It doesn't get hit by ground types. Sadly, it's just not that good. Like stat-wise, it's pretty bulky, but that's kind of it. Its typing kind of sucks. Because why have Giratina when you can have a Dragapult at this point? And even though Ghost is a good typing, like realistically, like it's a mix attacker, which is fine, but like these stats would be better if it were for the fact that you can maybe give it an Assault Vest, or even better than that, if Origin like Giratina was like a tad bit better. But with Restalization, you can do whatever, right? With Restalization, you're fine to do whatever. But I think it's just massive missed potential here in comparison to the other Origin forms. I think, honestly, both forms just go there because they both sort of lack in the meta currently. Fluttermane exists, so you need a way to counter that and also counter other Pokemon that are extremely relevant, such as Incineroar and King Gambit. You know, again, I'll repeat myself with some of the more prominent Pokemon, but that's kind of like the thing too, right? Is that you need to have that good coverage for those Pokemon. And Giratina doesn't really have that. It has access to Earthquake, which is fine. But is it going to outspeed something? No. It has base 90. So what? Is this like your Trick Room Pokemon? This is like your Trick Room setter? There's better Trick Room Pokemon out there. And literally there is a Pokemon that's a lot more popular than fucking any of these interesting Pokemon. And we'll get to them once we get to them. But like, with those Pokemon being around, like fucking, I'll just spoil it. Glastrier, like Glastrier's a lot better. It's just a lot better of a Trick Room setter, and it's just like, it's just better. It's just better. It's just a better Pokemon. So, do you really want to opt for having like your only restricted Pokemon to be this like very awkward Pokemon that can't really do much, or do you want something that's like a lot more stronger, a lot more better, something that's like built to at least last an entirety? Again, Terrestrialization helps it, but I think Terrestrialization doesn't like make it better. It just like prevents the inevitable, which is the same thing with Rayquaza and Mewtwo in a sense. And I would even argue like Palkia too. Like there's so many things that these Pokemon can realistically do that as like, you know, they have good shit. Don't get me wrong, they have some good shit going for them, but like it's not going to be that good in the long run. And with Giratina here, mind you, Giratina kind of sucks. And you know what the fuck happened here? Giratina switched its defensive stats and special attack stats for defense. Like, it literally did a vice versa for its defensive stats and attack stats. It's not that good. It's not that good. Honestly, if you were to just like take off like either its attack or its special attack and give it to its speed, like, This honestly would be like maybe a B tier, like maybe a B or even A tier, because it's just really good. It would be a really good thing, but unfortunately, it's kind of like an awkward spot. So C tier you go. Have I not seen Reshiram? Have I not seen a single Reshiram? Yeah. So Reshiram. Reshiram's weird. At least right now, I don't think it's good. I think we'll just put this there. Might as well also put Zekrom here at the same time. Right? Because, like, let's be reals. Let's be reals. It's fine. I think Zekrom has a good potential, but then you get, like... Then you get fucking... I mean, Clear Amulet helps it, right? Clear Amulet can definitely help it, but, like... Again, Dragon Electric is good, but we have a better one, Raging Bolt. If it had access to Thunderclap, honestly, you know what? If it had access to Thunderclap, it would be insane. It'd be great. It'd be like the best fucking, like, one of the best restricted Pokemon ever. But it doesn't. It doesn't have access to Thunderclap, so I'm sorry, but alternatively, you're gonna be down the drain for me. Put this first Kyurem out of here. Get this shit out of here. Kyurem Black and Kyurem White. I have seen both of these Pokemon, like, respectively. I don't think they're, like, special. Like, I've seen more Kyurem White than ever before. That's for sure. But that's kind of it, really. Like, it's usually paired with Alola Ninetales, which is great because Snow gives it a boost on like the defensive stats. But that's kind of it, really. Like, I think they're fine. I think they're okay. They're not terrible Pokemon. But are they, like, broken? No. Are they easy to counter? Yes. But they're definitely, like, they're a lot better than Origin Form. And honestly, Rayquaza can go down a bit. Just because of that. Just because of, like, Ice Type's getting a massive buff this generation in general. It just allows it to be good. Like, it does counter, like, more, like, some of the top threats for sure. But realistically, like, I mean, you're outspeeding most Pokemon. Most legendary Pokemon that have a base 90 speed. So 95 is kind of nuts, to say the least, right? That's pretty good. It's pretty good. By 5 points, nonetheless. But, like, it's still pretty decent. But, like, you can't deny that these Pokemon kind of suck here. Like, they kind of suck. Let's be reals. We're not talking about these guys. They have no competitive relevancy. If you think that fucking Cosmo and Cosmoem do, I'm sorry they don't. I'm gonna disappoint you here. But the cutesy Pokemon are not always the best. So, fun fact, I haven't seen the Alola legendaries at all. Maybe these are gonna show up more when we'll have double restricteds. But I haven't seen, like, Solgaleo nor Lunala at all. But let's talk about them. So, Solgaleo is interesting, actually. Because Solgaleo counters Flutter. It counters most Fairy-type Pokemon in the game. And again, I think it's a Pokemon that actually benefits a lot with Terastallization. Unfortunately, it is a physical attacker, which it can potentially get, like, lowered stats. But here's the catch: its ability, Full Metal Body, prevents it from its stats to be lowered. So Galio is actually really good. That means it's a decent counter to, like, Incineroar Intimidates and all that stuff. The issue is that you have to Terrastallize it, which kind of sucks. But that's okay. It's an Intimidate Nullifier. It's good. That to me is great. This to me is insanely good. Because you have a Pokemon that has 0 ways of getting its stats lowered, which means that you can invest some good shit. Now, its stats are kind of wonky, I would say. I don't really like the fact that it has a 97 speed and give it 100. That would have been nice. But I'm not complaining. This Pokemon is actually pretty decently good. And I actually think it is a B tier Pokemon. It is a solid B tier candidate Pokemon. It counters a lot of good Pokemon around in the meta. It's pretty threatening when you think about it. The only issue, again, is that it needs that terrestrialization to like a pretty decent Terra type to make sure to counter like any like fire or ground type Pokemon that you're gonna be facing, and also like the ghost types and what have you. Like maybe give it this thing like, I don't know, like Terra Fairy or some shit, and like you're kind of golden. You're kind of golden with this Pokemon, but that's kind of it. The fact that I have to say you have to terrestrialize this Pokemon is a bit odd, but I think it's worth it in the long run because of its ability and because it's just really good. And then we get Lunala. So Lunala typically is like next to Trick Room and all that stuff. That's fine. But the weird catch is the 89 defense and the Psychic and Ghost typing, plus there's a better Psychic and Ghost type Pokemon. So realistically, Lunala is good, but it isn't excellent. It's basically in the same level as Solgaleo, where it's good, but it's not excellent. But pair it up in the right team and circumstance, I can see winning like a good tournament in Scarlet and Violet for sure, 100%. You just need to have the good team to go for it. And then we get the Necrozma forms. These are the ones you wanna give the shout outs to. This right here is prime. This is Solgaleo on crack. This is better. This is just a tad bit better. Prism Armor. This Pokemon receives basically less damage. So basically, it's a multi-scale, but in the long run, so it's pretty good. But taking out the full male body ability means that you probably need to run this thing with Clear Amulet just to make sure you don't get fucked. But honestly, like, its stats are just really good. It's just really, really good. Good Trick Room Pokemon overall. Honestly, this is not a sleeper Pokemon. Don't sleep on this thing. It is threatening. It is crazy how this thing can be like a massive threat to society. Again, it needs to be terrestrialized, but I think that's not that big of a deal on this thing, because like it's just that good. It's just that good, you know. It's just that good. And then we get freaking Dawn Wings, which is like crazy how good this Pokemon is now. Better Lunala right there. Better Lunala as well. But again, better Calyrex exists, but I will put this thing in B tier. High B though. Just because it is better than like Lunala, like regular Lunala. Like, it gets overshadowed completely. But I think there's still the common thread of one singular horse that will kill it. But it does have a really good special defense, so it's not like it can't tank hits. But then again, like, this amount of defense for like an Incineroar is not that good, and then all that stuff. And you need to have it be in Trick Room. There's some factors to be in play here, but still, good Pokemon overall. Pretty solid Pokemon. Not bad. Not bad for legendaries. Honestly, the Necrozma forms are, for me at least, a boost for these Pokemon. It's a really decent boost. But if I do this, do I boost? Because I kind of think both of them are kind of like I'll put them next to each other. I think, like, kind of like this. Yeah. Because I think Groudon's just a bit better. Yeah, Groudon's just a tad bit better, for sure. Alright, regular Necrozma. Regular Necrozma is not good. We don't talk about regular Necrozma. Next. Literally, this thing is not good. I'm sorry. What's this thing gonna do? Tickle you? Like, I'm sorry. Pure Psychic has nothing to go for it. Like, I'm sorry. I like its design, but like, it's not gonna do shit. It's not gonna do anything. I think this is the weakest legendary Pokemon out of like the fucking D tier we have. Okay, so I think we have a conversation to have here. We're gonna put the doggos here. We're gonna put the doggos in trial. Got Zacian, crown form. Zamazenta, crown form. Gotta put these guys on trial. Now, back in the old Sword and Shield days, Zacian was just a threat. But due to the nerf of their abilities, both Zacian and Zamazenta, they're not as good as before. But they are still the top tier threats. One of them. And unfortunately, it isn't Zacian. It isn't Zacian anymore. But that doesn't mean Zacian isn't good. I think Zacian is still a pretty good Pokemon. Fairy and Steel is an amazing type combination. And it is a force to be reckoned with anyways. It is still a consistent Pokemon to use. But I think because of the... Like, not because of the meta, but because that it can't boost itself as it used to. Plus, you know, Intimidate users like Incineroar are around. And just like... The overall power creep is just a little more leaning towards a bye-bye for this Pokemon. While Terrestrialization does save it from, like, internal hell, I don't think it's as good as it once was. But yet, Zamazenta, on the other hand... Okay, I'm going to put Zamazenta right here. I think Zamazenta is just great. So, I reached Master Ball, which is going to be a video in its own right, which I'll be editing a good portion myself. But Zamazenta is definitely a GOAT. It is definitely one of the strongest Pokemon that we currently have in the meta because it has access to Body Press and all that stuff. And again, while even though its ability is lowered, that doesn't make this Pokemon not good because it has access to Iron Defense. But you're probably going to be thinking to yourself, oh, but Zacian has access to Swords Dance. It can actually Swords Dance boost itself. Yeah, sure. Sure. Whatever, man. Defense is just better. Especially when you have Pokemon that are, like, you're trying to, like, avoid and, like, trying to, like, you know, stall out a few turns. You just run this in with Iron Defense and then go for Body Press or fucking Heavy Slam, which it both has stab for, and it's just really good. It's just overall better. Honestly, this year is a very rare case where I have to say Zamazenta the GOAT. This damn dog has proved himself worthy. So there you go. And also, you'll never see these forms in competitive. So you'll never see these forms. But if I were to properly rank them, it's gonna be like here and here, respectively. So there's that. Actually, no. Actually, they would be down. Both of them would be down there. But yeah. Just overall, really good Pokemon. Very good ability. Give it a boost to the defense. Just right off the beginning, when it gets summoned, it's just good overall. Very speedy. Really good. Same thing for Zacian. But unfortunately, Zacian kind of suffers from the fact that their Intimidate is still a thing. And, like, unless it's, like, the very end of the game, then, like, Zacian's, like... it's a bit risky sometimes to have Zacian start off, but it's still decent. It's still good. It's not bad, but it's not good either. Anyways, Eternatus. I hate this Pokemon in its existence. It's so ugly. Okay, not only that, but, like, okay, I'm gonna be honest here. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. If it had a better ability than Pressure, sure, top tier. But it doesn't. It needs something. It just needs something to be good. Poison Dragon is good. It's not a bad type combo. Because fucking, especially as a special attacker, that's like Stab Sludge Bomb right there. Hits for super effective against most fairy type Pokemon. Really good. Plus, Dragon, crazy. And it has coverage for Flamethrower. You give this thing Terra Fire, it's fucking great. Just what the fuck does it why the fuck does it have fucking pressure? Give this thing hit ability ASAP. Give it like fucking, I don't know, Poison Point? Or just something. Just something, not pressure. Unnerve. Honestly, I would argue this is a better Unnerve user than Mewtwo. But like, it's just gross. It's not. Again, it's not bad because of its typing. I think it's missing the ballpark. It's missing the ballpark by a lot. But that's just me. Okay. Let's talk about both of these fuckers here. Okay, let's talk about them. They're actually respectively they're here. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, respectively they're both there. Okay. What hasn't been said about Calyrex, right? What hasn't been said? Calyrex Shadow Rider and Calyrex Glacial Rider. Calyrex Ice Rider. So, one's extremely good in Trick Room, as I previously stated. That there's just a better Pokemon overall in Trick Room, which is this thing. Just a better Ice type Pokemon overall. Has an amazing attack stat, which it feels like even with Intimidate, it's not that it's not that big of a deal. Amazing defensive stats overall. On the plus side, a good Pokemon to have Clear Amulet on. This ability is broken to shit, which gives it a boost of special attack when when it KOs not a special attack, boost of attack when it KOs a Pokemon. Like this ability is just a better Moxie. Like everything for this thing is like a success. It's just a better. It's just like It's just that good. It's annoying that it's that good, but it is just that good. And this is the same thing for Shadow Rider, where with Shadow Rider, give this thing like a choice specs or whatever, or like what have you. And again, they both allow themselves to be good with terrestrialization. Like, this thing is fast as fuck. In comparison, you got like the slowest fucking Pokemon in the format, well, one of, and then you get fucking this thing that's just fucking Mach 20. It's almost as fast as fucking Regieleki, which is crazy. It's crazy to think about that. Plus, it has a really good typing of Psychic and Ghost. Honestly, this is the better version of fucking Lunala and Necrozma Dustmane. Like, it's not, it doesn't take a fucking brain cell to understand that these Pokemon are cracked. Like, it really doesn't. Like, normally Calyrex is with the Terra Fairy, and then fucking Ice Rider is like Terra Fire or some shit. And like, this thing has access to like really good moves in general, like high horsepower. It has obviously Glacial Lance. Again, they both have a move. 120 base power, 100% accurate, hits both targets. It hits both targets. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is insane. This is insanity to me. Anyways, I'm done. I'm done talking about these two. I'm done. They're S tier. You don't want to use them? Fine. I will. But yeah, no, they're S tier. They're great. They're fantastic. Well, I kind of wish that regular Calyrex was better. I kind of wish that regular Calyrex was better, but it's fine. He goes there. Okay, we reached the end point. We're reaching the ending here. So we have Koraidon next and Miraidon. So let's talk about Koraidon first. Koraidon is fighting Dragon, which is basically a better combo. It has access to Collision Course, which, Collision Course. 100% accurate move, 100 damage. It's just good. It's just a really good move overall. It activates the sun for Paradox Pokemon and for any fire type Pokemon like your Incineroars and what have you to get more powerful Flare Blitz. It even has access to Flare Blitz, so you can Terra Fire fucking Koraidon and just ram over people. The only issue I see with this Pokemon is that this is one of those, if you're obligated to have Clear Amulet, and of course there are like Pokemon that just kind of like or a tad bit better and a lot more popular in the meta, such as Calyrex, Shadow Rider, and Ice Rider. They're a tad bit better, and there are ways around this Pokemon which are a lot more easier per se than its counterpart Miraidon, which we'll get to that once we get to that. But honestly, you can also like Terra Steel this Pokemon to fucking have it have either like Heavy Slam or Iron Head. That's pretty decent, but it's not the best Heavy Slam user, obviously. But I think overall Koraidon is just like, it's just a tad bit better than Groudon. And I also think that I think just Koraidon overall is just really good. It's just really good. Again, like Wither Disruptors like Kyogre can just like take care of the fucking sun. But otherwise, I think this Pokemon is just really good. It's just really, really good. And also a really strong Zamazenta counter, which is great. And again, like I said, Zamazenta being very much high tier is important. And obviously it's a Pokemon that is able to counter fucking any Steel-type Pokemon it wants and any Dark-type Pokemon that it wants that doesn't have a sort of an immunity to fighting moves in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, no, overall, this is a really good Pokemon. It's a really good Pokemon. In comparison, Miraidon. So Miraidon has objectively a better typing right off the bat. It's a special attacker, so it doesn't have the obligation to have Clear Amulet to make sure that its attack stat doesn't get lowered. And we've seen We've seen Miraidon be in play a lot, and we've seen Miraidon win tournaments. And I personally have a very hard time against Miraidons, and if you don't have a ground type, this Pokemon is just a massive threat. For real. Or something to counter it, like a Pokemon with Draco Meteor or what have you, right? Because typical Miraidon sets go for Discharge, Electro Drift, which is its version of Collision Course, and then fucking Draco Meteor and Volt Switch. Give this thing choice specs to boost it, just to benefit from having just a massive special attack and having the electric terrain up, and you're just golden. This Pokemon is just it's discharging, winning most of the time. It's just really good. It is arguably the best discharge user in the game. Arguably the best electric terrain user in the game. Maybe aside from Tapu Koko, but Tapu Koko is not in this format. But I am intrigued to see if Tapu Koko would be better than Miraidon. I think it might, but at this point, Miraidon just has such a good special attack that it's just fucking nuts. It's just that broken, and honestly, it's just a really good Pokemon overall. It is well balanced. Well balanced for itself. Not for everyone around it, because quite frankly, it's not that balanced. It's just overpowered. But yeah, it's just a good Pokemon. It's just a really good Pokemon overall. And Electric Terrain benefits a lot of Pokemon, so because of the Electric Seed, which if the Electric Terrain is up, it boosts the holder's defense stats. So you could run this thing next to any Pokemon if you want to, and it'll be good. And finally, last but not least, Terapagos. Now, Terapagos is interesting, my little lads. There's no image. There's no image popping up for Terapagos. Oh well, it doesn't matter. So Terapagos is very much that bitch. He is that bitch. So regular Terapagos has a pretty decent stats, right? And has access to Terra Shell. Now, Terra Shell is, if Terapagos is at full HP, attacks taken have 0.5 5 times effectiveness, unless like a natural immunity. So it's just like, hey, I'm not gonna take a lot of damage at all because, well, duh. And because it's a normal type. Now, normal, at least to me, is one of those weird types where it's good, but it's also bad, right? But Terapagos is just able to benefit from that typing unlike any other Pokemon. On the plus side, it has access to Terra Storm, which is crazy good. It's a spread move that's 120 damage, 100% accurate. Damn, that sounds familiar. Calyrex. And if Terapagos is stellar, it becomes a stellar type move, which is really good because it makes this thing do super effective damage to terrestrialized Pokemon, which is very strong. And honestly, this Pokemon is usually ran with choice specs Terra Starstorm and fucking not Snore, but Sleep Talk. Because if it gets fallen asleep by like an Amoonguss or some shit, it just sleep talks and then it can just spam this for life. So overall, this Pokemon has really good coverage overall too. I've seen fucking Meteor Beam being played before. I've seen obviously it having access to Calm Mime, so you can Calm Mime with that, and then just give it like maybe any coverage moves for its special attack, because it's more of a special oriented Pokemon than a attack oriented. So you just give this thing like anything that's just good. It's just that broken. It do be just that broken. Arguably, it's better than Miraidon. But anyways, this is the tier list, guys. What do you guys think? Do you think that I've given a pretty harsh criticism for these guys down here? Or do you agree with my statements for the most part? But with that being said, without any hesitation, like and subscribe. Don't forget drugs, but if you get one, pretty make sure you're hot. Little smooch, moi, and I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Bye, guys!